At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
Welcome into the Josh Graham Show, where we begin by expressing some sympathy for the Arizona sports fan. Not just because the Phoenix Suns are understandably having a rough go with the Oklahoma City Thunder. That might be putting it mildly. Game 3 is underway in Phoenix. The Suns scuffling a bit. Up by 3 in the first quarter against OKC, but trailing in that series 2-0 against the reigning champs. But we're also sympathetic because of the frequent letdown artists that are the Arizona Cardinals. The NFL draft is winding down in Pittsburgh. Day 3 of the draft coming to a close, which means the time has arrived to talk about winners and losers. And we've certainly seen enough to say that the Arizona Cardinals have made a real mess of it this week. This draft has been a real tire fire, and it's hard, frankly, to identify another team who's got it wrong more than Arizona has over the last few days. It's hard to imagine that it could have gotten worse than what they did on Thursday night, but regardless of what happened last night and on Saturday here on day 3, the draft was going to be defined. When you're picking in the top 5, your draft is often defined by what you do with your top 5 draft pick. And with a litany of needs at premium positions, being a team that's not close to winning right now because you're in a division that has 3 teams that won 12 or 13 games apiece last year, including the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks, you're not in a position to win right now. And with a ton of premium positional needs, you choose to address none of them with the third overall pick. You go running back rather than edge rusher, rather than corner, rather than offensive tackle, rather than moving back and collecting assets, and choosing to go running back while passing up on those needs is a lot like buying a Porsche when you can barely afford to pay your mortgage. It's just organizational malpractice. Here are two signs they made a mistake, and it's pretty obvious to point out they made a mistake in drafting Jeremiah Love, which, by the way, this isn't a knock on Jeremiah Love. Jeremiah Love, there's nothing wrong with a Porsche. He is that. He is a luxury item, but it's just that team took him. Kind of like with Marvin Harrison Jr. a few years ago, who has gone to Arizona and largely disappeared, and that seems to be the destiny of Jeremiah Love because of how this team perennially runs itself. But two signs they made a mistake. Number one, because of slotted salaries in the draft, Jeremiah Love, we already know what he's going to be making as the number 3 pick. It's already slotted in. And because that slotted salary is being assigned to a running back, Jeremiah Love is going to get more guaranteed money than any tailback has signed for in the history of the NFL. Not running backs drafted, not rookies. This isn't a rookie contract stipulation. It is the most guaranteed money a running back has had guaranteed to them in the history of the sport before he's ever taken a snap in his NFL career. That's a sign you probably made a mistake. The second sign was revealed by their GM, Monty Ossenfort, when he was asked about why there was such a delay in selecting Jeremiah Love Thursday night. Here was the Cardinal GM.
If you want me to tell you the honest to God truth, we had the wrong phone number. The phone number that we were given was the wrong one, and so that was a little bit of the delay. So we got that straightened out, and we called Jeremiah, and we got a hold of him. That's what the delay was.
There was no delay.
There was no delay. Yeah, technical difficulties.
Yeah, technical difficulties. That seems to me like the football gods telling you when you get the wrong number, saying, "Stop it! Wait! But wait! You're making a mistake!" So that's a bad omen. But then the Cardinals, it didn't get better on night 2 with your second and your third round draft picks. These are the picks generally you're finding starters for your team. And when you don't draft a premium position player in round 1, surely that means when you have the first pick, or the second pick of round 2, you're going to go that path now, right? You're then going to take TJ Parker, who's on the board, or, Mason from Oklahoma, who's on the board at edge, or take one of the DBs that have fallen in this draft since you didn't go that path. That's probably what you're going to do, right? Nope. You're going to take an offensive guard. Maybe he could play right tackle, but likely he's an offensive guard that you took in round 2. You know the position that you sometimes can find starters on the waiver wire at? Yeah. With all these premium needs, you go running back and then offensive guard. And then the clincher was the selection of Miami quarterback Carson Beck. They made him the 3rd quarterback taken over Garrett Nussmeier, over Drew Aller, over Taylon Green. And it's such a tough fit that this is the guy, and this is how high up that you're choosing to take Carson Beck from Miami. Here was Monty Ossenfort again on if Beck's going to compete for the starting job in Arizona.
Yeah, I think we just announced his name about a half hour ago. So, we just want to get him in the building here and show him where the cafeteria is and the locker room is, and get him fitted for his gear, and then we'll go from there. We're excited to add great competition in that room. And
yeah. We got to show him where the cafeteria is at. That's what's important. That makes me want to know what that cafeteria looks like. Want to learn more about the cafeteria, because some of these pro teams, they've got it going on in the cafeteria space. Earlier this week was at the Carolina Hurricanes double overtime win over the Ottawa Senators, and the game ends. I'm in the locker room, and they have like an LED screen in the locker room that's telling the team what's on the post-game menu for them to choose between. And there is flank steak. There's 2 or 3 other things. I even walked up to one of the PR staffers and said, is that post-game meal for the media too? No, it is not. So we might need to check out the Cardinals cafeteria space after hearing Monty Ossenfort say that. But going back to the Cards, and really him, the blame for this, it's on ownership, but it's on Ossenfort too. This is his 4th NFL draft, and he's yet to have a great draft yet. Who's the Arizona Cardinal that you've pointed to the last few years and said, aha, what a draft pick by Monty Ossenfort. They've gotten it right. No, it's been a bad situation. It's great players go there, and that's where their careers go to die, like Marvin Harrison Jr., that was seen to be a lock, and no one's heard from him since. And probably the same thing's going to happen to Jeremiah Love. Like, the Cardinals are 15-36 in his tenure as the general manager. And this is the part where it's on the Bidwells. When you reset with Mike LaFleur, a young coach, and you kind of look around and recognize, okay, this might not be the year that we're competing in the division, but we're playing for the future, you missed a golden opportunity to reset both your GM and your head coach and start them as a tandem aligned. Alignment's a word you hear a lot about from the stable organizations in the NFL. And now, since Ossenfort's making a mess of it, you can see a situation that LaFleur starts his career off and it doesn't go well this year for Arizona because they're not a good team and they're in a bad division. And then they fire the GM, and now the GM is a guy who arrives who isn't connected to the head coach, and it's a mess. If this draft flops and Arizona misses this golden opportunity to kind of bottom out where you have a great draft next year and you can kind of build your base this year, it sets you back years down the line because the way that they're building, it's improper. But you tell me, are we over-exaggerating? Has anybody had a worse draft than the Arizona Cardinals had? 310-840-4910 if you want in on the program. 310-840-4910. Will Dalton, he is the executive producer of this program. Will is working behind the scenes here, telling me that we might be joined by a draft pick as the final few picks are being announced. Is that right?
Yeah, this is true. Gonna be happening probably here soon.
Yeah, we're lining it up, and what we're being told is one of the NFL's international pathway players, Sador Troyer, I think was just drafted, the tight end out of Mississippi State who is from France. We might visit with him sometime in the next hour. So that's exciting. Last day of the draft, and there's a lot of news that drops the last day of the draft, and we'll see where the remainder of these quarterbacks end up, obviously. A lot of people are interested in where the quarterbacks are going to be. Sador Troyer, just saw him on the stage selected by the Miami Dolphins, so we hope to visit with him a little bit later on this hour. 310-840-4910 if you want in and want to tell us who's had a worse draft than the Arizona Cardinals have had. Shifting things to the NBA. Seeing Brick right and talk NFL draft or NBA playoffs. Hey, that's what we're doing here. How about we do both regards? We're on Westwood One Sports Night on YouTube. That's where you can watch the show in addition to listening to it. Check out a lot of the video content that we have here. Tonight's NBA playoff slate, really the whole day as a whole, even as we just saw the Orlando Magic finish off the Detroit Pistons with that series going back to Orlando. The Magic up 2-1 in the series. Today's slate is really about two teams, the New York Knicks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Tonight is an absolute must-win for the Knickerbockers. Must-win for the Knicks. You cannot fall behind 3-1 in a series. Only 13 teams in NBA history have come back from 3-1 down. It's roughly a 4% clip, and it's ridiculous that New York isn't leading this series right now, given the way they choked away Game 2, mismanagement by Mike Brown, the coach, in a tight game, and then in a tight game in Game 3 in Atlanta. unforgivably bad sequence at the end by a guy you really trust in Jalen Brunson. The Minnesota T-Wolves, meanwhile, they have the Nuggets exactly where they want them. Minnesota has taken the battle to Denver, led by double figures in game 1, just couldn't finish it off. Game 2, they are better in crunch time. Rudy Gobert outplays Nikola Jokic in the fourth quarter of a game. Didn't have that on our bingo card. You go and tie the series, splitting games at Ball Arena in Denver, and then you hammer the Nuggets in game 3. Don't forget that this is the T-Wolves from 2 years ago that upset the Nuggets in 7 games when they were a year removed from the finals. Minnesota should be a better team than they were then. Denver, probably not. Probably slightly worse. Minnesota knows the right buttons to press when facing a lot of these same players from Denver. They're at home with a chance to go up 3-1. So what ultimately do we see play out? The Knicks, they're going to win impressively at the Hawks. This is supposed to be the best New York Knicks team since the 90s, and they're going to be the ones playing with the urgency. Or by God, they better be the ones playing with urgency. And then Nuggets, Wolves, it's going to be an epic showdown. Epic. It's the main event of the night. This should be a fabulous game. If we had to pick a side, we're going to lean with the home team, the Minnesota Timberwolves, going up 3-1 in their series. 310-840-4910. Let's go to Dakota from Florida. Dakota, who's had a worse draft than the Arizona Cardinals had? You're the first caller of today's show. Let's make it a good one.
Well, honestly, truthfully, I wanted to debate that topic there that you just said on the Cardinals. I mean, per se, I know getting Jeremiah Love with the first pick for them in the third overall first pick in their first round probably wasn't the best option with James Conner and stuff. But also they've had a very inopportune time with a loaded backfield, 4 different guys you've seen in and out of that lineup in the last year, not being able to get steady at that position. But you also have had injury and subpar quarterback play. All of these things need to be addressed, yes, by the GM, but I wouldn't necessarily say his draft tactics have been the worst. He's also got Trey McBride that, he brought in a couple years ago, who's been tearing the league up since. But myself, as a Bucs fan, I really like how we address the draft on the defensive side of the ball.
Ruben Bain was my favorite pick of the first round. The guy's from Florida, nearly won a national championship at Miami, and you don't have to deal with a double team ever with Vita Vea and Yaya Diaby on that defense. So I'm with you. Love what Tampa did.
So there's going to be so much availability to spread the defensive line, and then going out with your second pick and getting Josiah Trotter, father with a ton of experience in the league. So, I think we addressed the draft well. We just selected a tight end now, trying to address some of the pieces coming into the offseason. So I'm very excited to see there. I do want to see how Beck plays out in Arizona, though. I know they don't have much of an option now, and Kyler's, been and gone. But if they can get decent play out of him, you never know. You might see the revival of somebody like a Marvin Harrison.
Carson Beck. Okay, you can go down that road. I don't want to see that. Appreciate the call, Dakota. It's good to hear from you from Tampa. One more. Let's go to Matt, who's from Poptown. Let's go to Matt, 310-840-4910. Matt, what do you have?
Hey, brother. Hey, been listening to you forever, brother. And congratulations. But
appreciate you.
Hey, why do you and other analysts say draft instead of draft? First off. And then second, how about them Bears picking up another tight end?
Do you want to tell people how to spell the town that you live in?
P-F-F-A-F-T-O-W-N.
Pofftown, North Carolina. Stand up. What was the first
Yes,
question you asked?
Why do you and analysts say draft instead of draft with a T?
Draft.
You're not the only one.
Oh. Here we go. Matt, appreciate the call. Will Dalton, this is the part where you hear from the English, like the folks that must have done theater when they were in high school. Like when you're talking for 3 or 4 hours, they're like, why aren't you saying your T's versus your F's so strongly? This is the part where we
I don't know. I didn't go through this class.
When you
So I
talk
must have
for
missed
3 or
something.
4 hours, sometimes maybe the sharp pronunciation might not always be there as always. As for the Bears, a lot of Bears fans are mad about their first-round pick taking the safety from Oregon, who we put into the exciting whites category, like when you walk into Harris Teeter and see the wines up there.
Oh, yeah.
He falls into that category. Don't have great issue with what they did. Love that they got a center too. Yeah, it was a good draft. We expect to be visited by an NFL draft pick that was just taken here on day 3. In addition to getting to your calls at 310-840-4910, there's also a college head coach that might be pursued by the pros, and that college coach would be wise to turn them down to turn down the league. And we'll tell you why next on the Josh Graham Show.
The Cardinals turned the draft upside down. Jeremiah Love went 3rd overall.
Man, I'm ready to prove the fans right, prove the coaching staff right.
The highest paid running back ever with $52.5 million guaranteed.
I'm ready to represent the running backs. I'm ready to represent the Cardinals, ready to represent Notre Dame.
Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
We'll get to the teams that are having great drafts, but let's start with the ones that stand out not being so great, maybe being a bit hold your nose stinky. 310-840-4910. My contention is that the Arizona Cardinals had the worst draft of the bunch. Is there anybody who did it worse, perhaps, than Arizona did? 310-840-4910 if you want in. Let's go to Rich, who's calling from California. Rich, Arizona, is it the worst, or is there someone else that comes to mind?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I listen to you guys all the time. If you will, after I comment on that, I want to say something to the wise guys from yesterday's phone call to redeem myself. They were absolutely wrong on what he
who are you talking about? I don't know. I don't know who you're talking about. So, no, let's not do that because I have no idea who you're talking about.
Oh, it was about the Niners.
I don't know. I wasn't here for that. But you could tell me what you think about the Cardinals. How about that?
Yeah, the Cardinals, I think, what happens if they hit on it, like they go after offensive linemen now through the rest of the draft and hit on almost 80% of that. They could redeem themselves, I think, by getting Love at number 3. Carson Beck, I think, is better than the Rams quarterback who they just drafted. I think Carson Beck has he should have went number 2 overall, I think, or the Penn State guy.
No, whoa, why? Where's that coming from?
Well, you got to understand the systems. You got to understand the weapons are different, systems are different. He's been through 2 different systems. Same with Mendoza, but Mendoza's a way better quarterback. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying Carson Beck is really good, and people are, not getting him the credit I think he deserves. I'm not a Carson Beck fan, but I do.
Sounds like you are. You just said he should be the number 2 pick in the draft.
Well, either him or the Penn State guy, I thought.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that they could redeem themselves if they get a lot of offensive linemen. Look at the Niners. They have a 5th round tight end that's a Hall of Famer.
I agree with you. They had opportunities, and I appreciate the call, Rich. Good to hear from you. But the problem with it is they decided to go offensive guard, a guy they don't even know could be a right tackle with their 2nd pick, and then they go with Carson Beck in the 3rd round, who – If the evaluation they have is similar to yours, I'm all for it. I don't believe it because if they did have that evaluation, they would have taken him in round 1. They would have taken him in round 2. They probably would have traded up to make sure no one else had the same evaluation. So I don't even believe they have that type of belief in Carson Beck. Let's go to Jim, who's in Fort Myers. 310-840-4910. Jim, who had it worse than the Cardinals did?
I got to tell you, I think the Browns did. And let me preface this by just saying, so they think they had a great draft. They drafted an offensive left tackle from Utah that they actually moved to right tackle because they had somebody come in and replace him. And then the guy that was at left tackle got drafted real late last year. Then they draft Concepcion from Texas A&M, and his only problem is he can't catch the ball. He's supposedly a great wide receiver. He just can't catch the football unless it's in the backfield. He's a 5'9" slot receiver. So I guess if you run him in the backfield and then send him out 6-8 yards, he may catch something. It's tough to draft a receiver when you can't catch the ball. And
well,
then
Denzel Boston can catch the ball. Denzel Boston, they took him.
Here's the thing about Boston, and that gets to my other point. If these guys will just draft Ohio State Buckeyes for about 5 years, they'll be in the Super Bowl every year. In fact, they think Boston's dad is David Boston that played at Ohio State. These guys.
He didn't say that. It was an analyst on ESPN that said that.
I know, but they got the Buckeyes on the mind, and I don't blame them one bit. Draft all the Buckeyes, but how do you draft a wide receiver that can't catch?
What if I told you, Jim? What if I told you, Jim, that I'm considering the Browns for having the best draft of anybody in the NFL?
Oh my goodness! They ran away. They ran away from Tate. They ran away from Downs. But how do you draft a guy that can't catch the football?
I disagree with you about Casey. I'll tell you this, Jim. I appreciate the call. I covered Casey Concepcion's career when he was at NC State prior to going to Texas A&M. I knew about him when he was in high school in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm boots on the ground in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I can assure you, because I've seen it with my own two eyes, that Casey Concepcion can catch the football. And there's reason to like him more even than Mekhi Lemon, who was taken 20th. Both guys predominantly are going to be working out of the slot, it would seem. This is going to be really exciting. History being made at the NFL draft. Seydou Traore was just selected by Mississippi State. A fabulous story. Josh Jacobs, who's taking your calls at 310-840-4910. Will Dalton, let me know when we have the sounds of Traore being drafted, because this just happened. We have it right now. Here was history being made by the Miami Dolphins and at day 3 of the NFL draft.
That the dream is possible. And with that, with the 180th pick in the 2026 NFL draft, the Miami Dolphins select Seydou Traore, tight end, Mississippi State, IPP. Let's go.
What does IPP stand for? That is International Pathway Players. The International Pathway Path for the NFL. And Seydou Traore didn't start playing football until he was 18 years old. And he's discovered playing at the Clearwater Academy in Florida by Arkansas State, and then pops up on the radar screen of the SEC at Mississippi State, cowbells and all, has a good enough career there, was a weapon this past season with 5 touchdown catches, that he gets drafted in the 5th round by the Miami Dolphins. What a fabulous story he is. Born in France, raised in London, soccer player, was a goalkeeper, and then gets a D1 scholarship at Arkansas State, then on to the SEC, and now on to the NFL. Seydou Traore is going to be joining us later this hour, and we'll get to talk to a kid that is maybe, perhaps, the best story in this NFL draft. So much we would love to talk with him about. That just happened in the last little bit. So we look forward to visiting with him. Will Dalton, this certainly picks up my spirits because it's been, shall we say, an eventful day, sports-wise, in the Graham household. Remind people who don't know, there are only 2 teams I'm emotionally attached to. Who are those teams?
The Hurricanes in Carolina and the Baltimore Orioles. Those
Glad you specified in Carolina, because Jim might think I was. Wait a minute! You just said that Carson Beck.
He likes Carson Beck after
all. Whoa! You just said that Carson Beck wasn't any good, and you're a Hurricanes fan. Carolina Hurricanes, who are right now deadlocked in a 0-0 tie, Game 4, looking to wrap up their series with the Ottawa Senators, and then it's the Baltimore Orioles. So, a lot of moving parts on today's show. where we might be visiting with the draft pick, who's a fabulous story in just a bit, and Seydou Traore. But also, the Carolina Hurricanes are playing at the moment. This is the part where I need to protect myself and protect the audience, Josh Jacobs, from being too obnoxious here. Like, you still have that horn ready to go anytime I go over the top in talking about the Carolina Hurricanes. So that's more of a gift for you to protect me from myself if I find myself tempted talking too much hockey and talking about the Carolina Hurricanes. And Jacobs, again, you could just...
There it is.
Good use. Good use of the horn there. So that's more for you as we're trying to keep things up to date. The Canes can close things out. The Philadelphia Flyers are in a similar position tonight. The winner of those two series will play each other. The Flyers are the hottest team in the NHL right now, like Bagatu, or I guess Hansel. So hot right now. If you know, you know. And then the other reason it's been an eventful day, the Baltimore Orioles started things off. See, last night, Will, things were going so well for my beloved Orioles. They hit 6 home runs. It went so well that they put on the scoreboard, the new scoreboard they have in Camden Yards, due to so many home runs being hit, we're out of pyrotechnics. No more fireworks for home runs. They hit so many home runs, they ran out of fireworks. That's how well things were going. Today could not have gone worse. Don't think the Orioles have lost a game by more than 6 runs this year. I think only one game by 6 runs. They've lost another by 4. So they battle, they scuffle. Today they lost to the Red Sox, who have been awful in the AL East this week, 17-1. They lost to the Red Sox 17-1 today. Yeah. 17-1. The Orioles.
Oh,
now there was a position player in the 9th, and things kind of got squirrely there a bit. But the Orioles, that was a tough one. We need a morale pick me up a little bit. And yes, Will, we know that the Yankees have the best record in the American League. We don't need to talk.
Yeah,
about
just want to make sure you pointed that out. Got to get that out there too.
Maybe the best story in the NFL draft is going to join us, perhaps from Pittsburgh. Honestly, I don't know. Is he joining us from overseas? We're going to try to figure it out together. We're being told there might be a video connection as well for those watching on YouTube or watching on X. You can find me at Josh Graham Show, and you can find us on YouTube at Westwood One Sports Night. Seydou Traore, from France and London to Florida to Arkansas State to the SEC at Mississippi State, and now a draft pick by the Miami Dolphins, is slated to join us next on the Josh Graham Show.
Los Angeles delivered a first-round shocker with Alabama's Ty Simpson.
Wow, Ty Simpson goes 13 to the Rams.
The QB goes far earlier than expected.
Nobody saw this one coming.
Is this the beginning of the end for Matt Stafford? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
Expecting a visit from one of the best stories in the NFL draft, Seydou Traoré, just taken by the Miami Dolphins, part of the international players path that the NFL has, selected in the 5th round by the Miami Dolphins, coming to the United States by way of London and France. He wasn't exposed to football until he was 18 years old. He'll be joining us in just a little bit. Was just selected moments ago, and we were just told he's going to have time to visit with us this afternoon. This is what we call live action. Live action. Before we get to him, though, let's run down very quickly the quarterbacks who have been selected in this year's NFL draft, because the list has become pretty lengthy. A lot of the conversation going into the draft was there were 3, maybe 4 players to be drafted. We're up to 6. 6 quarterbacks have been selected in the NFL draft. Going in order, Fernando Mendoza was selected first overall. It's a weird thing we do sometimes with draft coverage. We talk about what's most newsworthy, and what's most newsworthy is what's most surprising, what you don't expect. And the one single thing that we all knew about this draft going in was that Mendoza was going to be the number 1 overall pick. Thus, not a lot of people have spent time talking about Mendoza. A fabulous story. He got ripped a little bit for not showing up to the draft, but he explained it pretty well why he decided to stay back. He has a big family. If you follow college football, you have seen how connected he is to his grandparents. And also, on the day of the draft, Mendoza announced that he has a foundation with his name on it to help those suffering with MS, including his mom. And he wanted to make it easy for his family to be there for him on draft night. So that's why he stayed put. It's admirable. It's commendable. He is one of the best stories in this draft, going from a relative unknown at this time a year ago, back-to-back 6 and 7 seasons at Cal, to being the number 1 player selected without any drama. That's the first quarterback taken. Then, of course, the most polarizing pick of round 1 was Ty Simpson to the LA Rams. Going from Alabama, you had some that were saying that he's a first-round grade, and he felt that he was going to be taken at some point in the first round. This is the part where it's frustrating when you hear people say he's not any good. It's pretty obvious to tell who pays attention to college football and who doesn't. And it's not a knock if you don't watch college football. Just admit it, though. With him, Carson, I want to say this being respectful. Let's just keep it with Simpson. Ty Simpson was the Heisman frontrunner going into mid-November. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. The odds suggested that. Ty Simpson was the Heisman frontrunner when Alabama rolled off 8 straight wins following the disappointing loss in the opener at Florida State. They were whacking teams. And Ty Simpson goes in the first round, and then later on it's Carson Beck in round 3, Drew Aller in round 3 to the Steelers, Beck to the Arizona Cardinals. Cade Klubnik is a New York Jet, selected at the start of the day. Cole Payton, North Dakota State, goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. And then, as mentioned, to wrap things up, Taylon Green, fun prospect from Arkansas. He is a Cleveland Brown. How cool is this? Somebody who knows something about the state of Arkansas. Might be the best story of this NFL draft. Joining us on Westwood One Sports and the Josh Graham Show, Seydou Traore from Mississippi State is in Pittsburgh, selected in the 5th round. Seydou, how would you describe what the last hour has been like, what you're feeling right now?
I was literally just describing someone. This past hour has felt like a blur. Everything's so surreal. I'm just trying to remember everything I've been doing in this past hour, but it's been amazing.
For those who don't know your story, we heard on stage, shout out to the IPP, that is the International Players Path. You were born in France. You then are playing soccer in London and are introduced to football when you're 18 years old, is what I heard. What do you remember about your introduction to football? Who do you give credit for introducing you to the sport?
So I was just born and raised in London. But yeah, I figured out the sport from the NFL show, Osim Mura and Jason Bell. And that really just was like match of the day, but for football. And that was my first introduction. Then I ended up going to the London Warriors in 99, and that really kicked off.
And then you go to college football, and how much of a culture difference is it when you arrive at Arkansas State playing for Butch Jones there?
It was pretty big. I mean, coming from a busy city like London, where it's really multicultural, transport's big, and stuff like that, to out in the country is definitely a change. But, I mean, got used to it and, got crack.
And then you get noticed by the big bad SEC where you're playing for Coach Levy in Mississippi State. Did you know what a cowbell was when you arrived in Starkville?
They let you know pretty quickly about the tradition. I picked that up pretty quick. Everyone actually has a cowbell that you speak to at Mississippi State. Your first one actually has to be gifted to you. But they let you know about the tradition.
So then you get drafted. How confident were you were going to be drafted today, Shadu?
I mean, I felt like I was pretty confident. It's up to the team at the end of the day, but the tape's out there, the numbers are out there, and the team does what they want to do. But I feel confident in my abilities, confident to compete against anyone. So, I hope that the team feels as confident in me.
The Miami Dolphins' newest draft pick, Shadu Traore, is joining us. One of the best stories in the NFL draft from the International Players Path, joining us from Pittsburgh. You have the flag draped around your shoulder. What gives you the most pride right now? Is it family? Is it country? What are you most proud of right now?
It's hard not to say everything. I mean, my family was down there as I took the call, walking out and seeing the fan admiration as they cheered me on, and then knowing back home there's support from all angles. I'm just proud to represent. Proud to put on.
Shadu Traore with us. Have you even looked at the cell phone yet? Do you know how many? There's a red number that appears on the Messages app that I'm sure is just exploding. Do you know how many messages you have already?
No clue. Funny story is that my phone actually broke this morning. So I've been using my sister's phone these past few hours, took the call on her phone. As soon as I get a new phone, I'll be able to tell you that.
When you're done talking to guys like me, Shador, what's the first phone call you're going to make?
I have no clue. Well, family's here with me, so I mean, probably just check in with a bunch of people. But,
Last thing for you. Some would say draft day is the dream. What is next? What's the thing that you're now aspiring to do, Shador Traore?
Yeah, I mean, now it's just the start. Obviously, have a destination to go to and to show them why they drafted me and show a whole city why the team picked me. So, I mean, the work's just getting started.
Thank you so much for making the time for us. Congratulations. We can't wait to follow your career.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
God, there we go. Shador Traore joining us from the Miami Dolphins. Will Dalton, how cool is that going to Pittsburgh and the path from the UK to Arkansas State to Starkville, Mississippi to the National Football League and the Miami Dolphins. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
His phone. Of all days to break your phone. Maybe it's a good thing so he's not distracted or worried about it. But it's like you just want to hear all the congratulations and who you might be hearing from. And it's broke. I can't believe it.
It's tough. That's a tough one. He needs to. The good news is they can get himself a nice phone now. It might be.
This is true. Huh?
It might be time to ring up a new phone. Coordinate that. Figure it out. Might be the first gift the Miami Dolphins give him. That's excellent. And you and I, we got to know Jeff Hafley a little bit when he was coaching in the ACC at Boston College. And they've put together a draft that there's a lot to like with what they've done. A lot to like from the Dolphins, who get Caden Proctor early on, addressing the O-line. Some think that Chris Johnson might be the best pure corner in this draft, along with Monster Delane from LSU. You get Jacob Rodriguez, who's an absolute monster at linebacker from Texas Tech. In fact, they get a couple Red Raiders. They get Caleb Douglas, too, the wide receiver. There was kind of a run of receivers that were taken in round 3. Chris Bell was a excellent receiver at Louisville. You snag him up. Michael Taffy, the safety from Texas, an awesome story too, where he changed his number his final year of college at Texas because he wanted to honor a high school teammate of his that tragically died in a car accident. And he showed out with the Longhorns at safety. They seem to produce a lot of great safeties out that way. And then you got Seydou Traore at tight end, who's a really fun prospect and an awesome story. A lot to root for on the Miami Dolphins end. If you listen to Malik Willis speak, you ever hear that guy talk? He's as candid and humble as you're ever going to find a starting quarterback in the NFL to be. And yeah, we're biased a little bit because we followed Jeff Hafley a little bit, and the ACC got to talk to him, and his background's rich in the NFL, coaching guys like Darrelle Revis in the NFL as a DB's coach before going to the collegiate ranks, and he was part of the Cam Newton Auburn national championship winning staff in college. Now getting his first head coaching gig after being with the Green Bay Packers as the defensive coordinator. That's a team to circle that's really easy to root for. Make sure, if you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, you do so. Searching Westwood One Sports Night, you can see interviews such as Seydou Traore joining us, which was fabulous. You can watch some of the content. You can watch back on shows and catch up on things you might have missed. Great stuff from Pittsburgh from our team, man. We had Black and Abdallah out in Pittsburgh interviewing all the prospects in the green room on Thursday nights and then bringing them on Westwood One Sports Night, the night show I host during the week. Our team, nobody does it better than Westwood One Sports. We love our partnership with the NFL, and the NFL draft, certainly something that we look forward to each and every year. It's just about to wrap up in Pittsburgh. So how about we do put a bow on it? And how about we look at things positively? We talked about who might have had the worst draft out of the 32 teams. How about the best? There are two teams that might surprise you that I think have had the best drafts, and I'll tell you who they are next.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
So glad to have you along on the Josh Graham Show. The draft just about completes in Pittsburgh. It's day 3 of 3. So let's talk positively. Let's talk about the teams who got it right. It seems wrong to say this. It almost makes you recoil as the words travel or the thought travels from your brain to your lips. But the New York Jets and the Cleveland Browns have had the most impactful drafts that we've seen the last 3 days. Perhaps the two least respected organizations in the NFL, or maybe least feared is the way to put it. They have the fewest wins, or they represent 2 of the 3 teams with the fewest wins in the last decade, Cleveland and the New York Jets, which makes it hard to trust that they're doing the right things and that they are being competent. But they have. You tell us who you have more trust in to be better in 2026. The Jets or the Cleveland Browns? 310-840-4910. It seems wrong to say it, but they've had the most impactful drafts. Look, let's start with the Jets. When you have a culture that isn't good, and nobody would pretend the culture is great over there, how do you build a winning culture? How do you build what coaches describe as a championship culture? Well, the Jets seem to be trying to answer that by drafting as many winners as possible. And at the same time, finding as many guys who can start for your football team as possible. Let's just look at their first 4 picks. Number 2 overall, they take Texas Tech edge rusher David Bailey. The Red Raiders were in the CFP quarters at the Orange Bowl. He was the top edge rusher off the board, the top defensive player for that matter. Number 16 overall, Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq. The Ducks were in the CFP semis. They beat Texas Tech in that Orange Bowl. Sadiq, the top tight end in this class. Number 30 overall, Indiana wide receiver Omar Cooper Jr. Obviously a national championship winner with the Hoosiers. Quite a fault. Some thought that most mock drafts had the Jets taking him at 16. You get him at 30. You trade back into the first round, and you're able to snag that 5th-year option. Obviously, Indiana won a national championship. Winner, winner, winner. Then you get to round 2, 50th overall. The Jets taking another Indiana Hoosier, and it's star cornerback D'Angelo Pons. You won't find many DBs that have better instincts than D'Angelo Pons does. And you're going to love the comp that Daniel Jeremiah had for Pons. This sound courtesy of the NFL Network last night.
I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to jinx it. Look at my comp for this player. So good. Aaron Glenn just drafted himself. I love it. It's the first time I can ever say that. By the way, D'Angelo Pons, my 50th player, was the 50th pick, and his comp is his new head coach. Thank you, draft gods, for giving me this. Thank you so much. Well done. D'Angelo Pons, he plays exactly like his head coach, Aaron Glenn. Love it. He's short. He is not small. He plays with unbelievable eyes and instincts. He is physical. He is feisty. He is
So Daniel Jeremiah says, Aaron Glenn just drafted himself. And then the Jets put out the video of the pick being announced. And the GM excitedly grabs Aaron Glenn by the shoulder and points to the screen. Aaron Glenn! And he's smiling ear to ear, watching those highlights that Daniel Jeremiah was talking over. So that's the New York Jets. Those are 4 starters. David Bailey, Kenyon Sadiq, Omar Cooper Jr., D'Angelo Pons, 4 starters. You find me another NFL team that found 4 starters in their draft the last few days. The New York Jets did. The Cleveland Browns, meanwhile, they needed to fix their offense. Plain and simple, full stop. That's why they wanted to change things up with their head coach, and they brought in Todd Monken. And after this draft, the Browns, they have no excuses to not be improved offensively. This is a team that, despite not playing much complimentary football at all, still had the 4th total defense in the league. And that makes sense when you consider they had the Defensive Player of the Year. They had the Defensive Rookie of the Year. So really good players on that defense. 4th total defense. Offensively, you had to get something right. So what do? They decide they need to take some swings, wanted more throws at the dartboard. They trade down from 6 to 9. And they draft the most flexible offensive lineman in this draft. Can play all 5 positions. Spencer Fano from Utah. You take him 9th overall. You start in the trenches offensively. Your second first-round pick, you get a weapon in Casey Concepcion. 24th overall. This guy, speed for days. You can have him return punts. You can have him in the backfield. He could be in the slot. He could be your burner on the outside. If that's not your cup of tea, a receiver, then it's Denzel Boston. You want to talk about the guy who probably makes the craziest catches in this draft in terms of hand catches. Has some issues with drops from time to time, but in terms of his ability to catch the ball with his hands, none of those chest catches that DBs are so good punching the ball out on, Denzel Boston from Washington, he does that pretty well. And I know this because I vote for the Biletnikoff Award, best receiver in college football handed out, so I pay close attention. Will Dalton, why are you smiling ear to ear at that? I think it's important information for people to have if we're talking about college receivers here, no?
Because this guy, to our national audience out there, let me let you in on something that you might not know. This guy wears like a badge of honor that he is a Biletnikoff voter.
I love
He will never miss
receivers.
an opportunity to tell you that he's a Biletnikoff voter.
Just wait
And
till
he
I
might
start
tell you
voting for the
once a day
Heisman.
or a week. Oh my God!
Just wait till I start voting the Heisman
Put
Trophy
it in your bio.
when that happens.
Put it in the bio.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then some had a first-round grade on Emmanuel McNeil Warren, the safety from Toledo. You want to talk about a home state kid? It is funny that you don't take anybody from Ohio State, but you do take the safety out of Toledo that fell somehow out of the first round. You get Emmanuel McNeil Warren. Love that pick. And late, this quarterback room, man. If you didn't think it was interesting enough to have Shedeur Sanders, Deshaun Watson, and Dylan Gabriel, let's add Taylon Green to the mix, who might be my favorite prospect in the entire draft. He was my college football crush at Arkansas the last couple of years. Why? Because he's 6'6", 227, ran a 4.36 40-yard dash. He did things at the combine you'll never see. He rushed for nearly 2,500 yards. He threw for nearly 10,000 yards, 59 touchdown passes in his career, 35 touchdown runs. Are the Browns fully committed to giving him a shot at quarterback? We'll see. If not, he's probably going to find a way on the field somewhere else. Probably going to work that one out. They just need one of those quarterbacks to stand out. And by God, you got Spencer Fano, and you got Concepcion, and you got now Denzel Boston. You got help. You got Monken coaching you. One of these quarterbacks have to separate themselves, and if they do, this defense doesn't need a lot of help, but they need some help. Word to the ownership for both the Jets and the Browns. Looking at you, Woody Johnson. Looking at you, Haslams. Please, please, please don't have the bar be playoffs or bust for your coaches. Now, you expect a first-year coach is going to be fine in Monken's case, but we've seen some crazy things happen where coaches get fired after just 1 year in Cleveland by this ownership group. Please, please, please don't do that. The Jets, looking at you too. This is year 2 for Aaron Glenn. Year 1 didn't go well. No one's pretending it did. But if you see some progress that isn't quite to the playoffs, it's short of that, but it is progress nonetheless. Please don't pull the plug because there's a lot to like here where it seems the Jets, they'll have an opportunity to just plug a quarterback in. They did take Cade Klubnik as well, who might get an opportunity in the second half of the season if the Jets are out of it. They're in impossible divisions, both these teams. The Jets have the Bills and the Patriots to deal with. The Browns have the Steelers, the Ravens, the Bengals. None of those teams are in rebuilding mode. But there you go. The Jets and the Browns, it feels grimy. It feels gross to say. But they are the teams that had the best draft. But who do you have a better outlook for 2026? 310-840-4910. Is it the Jets or is it the Browns? Let's go to Beth that is calling in from Greensboro, North Carolina. This is, Will, you're making me nostalgic by talking about our days when we did afternoon drive together in Greensboro. Beth is an OG caller from that time. Beth, you're talking to a national audience now, so you better bring it with this phone call.
Well, yes, sir, I will. Hello, Josh Graham.
Hello, Beth.
I am at the Greensboro Grasshoppers game. I work for them. And
minor league
the reason why I was
baseball,
calling this
love
is
it.
What?
I love minor league baseball
Okay.
so much, so I'm jealous
I
you're
know
at
you
the
do.
ballpark
I
on
know.
this beautiful Saturday. Actually, isn't it raining outside?
It's raining, so we're kind of at a standstill. But while I was sitting here and I could, the Pirates have Connor Griffin, who came from the Greensboro Grasshoppers. And last night he hit his first major league home run with the Pirates, and he came from us. He played for us last year. So while I was sitting here just pondering that, I thought I would call, and I brought my phone in, and I'm listening to you guys on speaker, because I got to listen to you guys. I miss you and Will.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
But I have to listen. You know that.
I have a story to tell you with Connor Griffin, and it's great. Thank you so much for teeing me up on this. It's great to
You're
hear
welcome.
your voice. Good luck
Love
with
it.
the rain delay out that way. Connor Griffin, you're right, hit his first major league home run. And Will, did you see what happened when he hit that home run? This number one prospect in baseball signed an extension. The Pirates have been a fun story. Did you follow what happened once he hit that bomb?
No, I didn't see.
So, you know how teams have this celebration jacket or have like a hat that they wear and things when you hit home runs? The Pirates, being that they're in the Steel City, have a welder's mask. Like a steel welder's mask that you put on.
Ooh.
So, Connor Griffin, being the young kid he is, hit his first major league home run. He's very excited to find the welder's mask. And he does, and he puts it on, and he's racing into the dugout. He's about to high-five everyone. But then the team gives him the silent treatment. Nobody's in the dugout. And he walks in there with his hands up, both his hands looking for high fives, and someone's just sitting down looking at a tablet, and he's walking past that person, and no one's high-fiving him, and he's all by himself. He just hit his first major league home run. And then after about 10 seconds, the rest of the team comes in. Because baseball.
Yeah, it's a tale old as time. A guy hitting his first home run, or just a home run, like a young player hitting one, and then the team does that. I've seen it a million times. Then it never gets
silent
old.
treatment. Let's go to Veek from Ohio. Veek, 310-840-4910. Jets or Browns? Who are you more optimistic about?
I think I'm more optimistic about the Browns. I feel like they've got a lot of things changed over there. They're trying to create a new culture, and I feel like that the way that their draft went was more comparable to actually successful future. I think the Jets had a lot of picks that were good for them because they had a lot of holes, but I don't think they're going to move the needle much. I think they'll find themselves in the top 5 again next year's draft season.
Veek, who do you want to see playing quarterback for the Browns?
You know, I'm an optimist. I think that they should let Shadur take over from start. They ended last season that way. I think this year, if they let him have the reins from the beginning, that they'll have a higher chance of success. I think we've seen Watson's window close here real quick, and I feel like he's just kind of moved on, and I feel like the Browns should move on from him as well.
All right. Love it. Appreciate the call, Veek. Appreciate you listening from Ohio, 310-840-4910. If you want in, it'd be great if they just split it 4 ways. Kind of like the Joker in Dark Knight, snapping the Q. What is that? The pull stick. Telling the guys, make it fast. Somebody needs to stand out in camp. One of these quarterbacks. Don't care who it is. One of them needs to do it because now you got weapons. Now you got protection. And, of course, you got a great defense behind you. Looking ahead, we have Graham's Gambling to do. And when we play Graham's Gambling, we have NFL Rookie of the Year odds. And I've actually placed a couple of Rookie of the Year bets, believe it or not. NBA playoff bets to hand out. And, yes, even one for the NHL. And we'll share all those with you next on The Josh Graham Show.
Westwood One, baby! Fernando Mendoza is the Raiders' new centerpiece. Will he prove to be a franchise quarterback or another Vegas roll of the dice? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
Can you tell us a team that had a better draft than either the Cleveland Browns or the New York Jets? 310-840-4910. If you want in, we are rolling along as day 3 gets set to wrap up the 2026 NFL Draft from Pittsburgh. However, and wherever you are listening or watching, greatly appreciate that. We're going to do a scoreboard check on all the things that are happening across sports on this busy Saturday afternoon in just a bit. But right now, we've been red hot with the bets we've been placing, and we hope that continues because we have a lot of bets to place in today's Grams Gambling.
Sitting back, count money all day, you know. It's time for Graham's Gambling. Let's make some money.
Let's do that. We have odds for NFL Offensive and Defensive Rookie of the Year. It's in front of us. These were just dropped, courtesy of our friends at DraftKings, and don't love any of the odds for Offensive Rookie of the Year. The best odds belong, strangely enough, to Jeremiah Love, third overall pick to the Arizona Cardinals. And then it's not Fernando Mendoza with the second best odds, the top pick to the Raiders. He is the third best. It is Carnell Tate, fourth overall to the Tennessee Titans, with the second best odds at getting to the highest mark, getting to the NFL's defensive or offensive rookie of the year. Defensively is where we're focusing on now. 2 bets for defensive rookie. Staying away from the 2 highest drafted defensive players, David Bailey, Texas Tech to the New York Jets, Arvell Reese, 5th overall to the New York Giants. These are the 2 that we really like. In fact, I've already placed these bets. Plus 600 odds, Ruben Bain, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Miami edge rusher, our first bet to win Defensive Rookie of the Year, and here's why. He should not have fallen to 15. It is a classic example of front offices and scouts overthinking things, him falling that far. If you watched college football, you know he's the best edge rusher in the sport. That's why Miami went to the college football playoff national title game. Nearly won the national championship. It's because of Ruben Bain. Why did he fall then? Oh, because he's got small arms. Really? That's what we're doing? That's why everybody loves Arvell Reese. Oh my gosh. Look at the measurables. Look at him. He's a combine darling. As if the games are played when you're in sweats. Played on workout benches. No, it's not. The tape tells us all that Ruben Bain is a better edge rusher than Arvell Reese is, and probably better than David Bailey as well. He falls to 15, but to a perfect place. Tampa Bay has a head coach who's a defensive-minded guy. In fact, Todd Bowles is calling the defense for the Buccaneers this next season. Tampa has one of the best pocket pushers in the NFL, Vita Vea, in the middle of that D-line. It's going to create pass rushing lanes for Ruben Bain. On the other side, you have an edge rusher in Yaya Diaby, meaning that you're never going to face any double teams with Vea and Diaby there. So you should be very productive if you're Bain. And then there's Mansour Delane, who I bet at plus 850 to win Rookie of the Year. These are the 2 that I like. The LSU corner going to the Kansas City Chiefs. Some were knocking Kansas City for this pick, saying, why did you take Delane when you could have just had Quincy McDuffie, who you traded away to the Rams right around free agency? And folks say this without even thinking that maybe these 2 things are linked. Maybe the Chiefs went to the combine, watched Mansour Delane, and thought, whoa, this guy's a freak. And said, you know what? We're comfortable. We look at a lot of the mock drafts. Most of them have Mansour Delane being there at 9. But we could even move up a few picks if we feel there's any danger that a team's going to take him, as they did moving up to Cleveland's pick at 6th overall. They probably felt comfortable moving off of McDuffie because they felt that good about Mansour Delane. Monster Delane was probably their top target, and they know Kansas City, because they haven't made a top 10 pick since drafting Patrick Mahomes in 2017, nearly a decade. They know they're not going to have many opportunities to get premium players at the top of the draft. So they identified Delane as being just that, as being an absolute freaking star. And so they take him, and because he's going to play for a team that likely makes the playoffs, and this is part of the logic with Ruben Bain as well, Tampa the betting favorite to win the NFC South, Kansas City is Kansas City, you're going to have more exposure, and that helps your case for winning awards such as Rookie of the Year. More people watching your big games in the 4:30 Eastern window on Sunday or on Sunday Night Football or in primetime games. And I think Monster Delane's going to shine. We don't really see a lot of corners taken in the top 10 being misses. There was the weird COVID year where C.J. Henderson and Jeff Okudah weren't all that great, but since then, top 10 pick Patrick Surtain, pretty good. Top 10 pick J.C. Horn, pretty good with the Panthers. Top 10 pick Devin Witherspoon, pretty good with the Seattle Seahawks. Maybe the best player on the Super Bowl champs, pound for pound. Monster Delane, he looks like he could be a star. So, those are our two bets for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Getting to the NBA, let me check how this bet's going. I took the Phoenix Suns plus 9.5 today against Oklahoma City. They're up 8. They're up 12. Oh, wait, I can't read, Will. It's the other way around. Josh Graham reads the scoreboard wrong. Hey, didn't Josh say at the top of this segment that he was going to do a scoreboard update? Turns out he can't read. He went to East Carolina University. Love the Pirates. It's happening. It's 87-79. OKC atop the Phoenix Suns with about 11.5 to go because Phoenix sports teams can't have anything nice. But still think the Suns are going to cover that. So we'll see how that ends up. Got the New York Knicks minus 1.5 tonight against Atlanta. You better win this game, Knicks. Should have won the last two. You don't. It's a small number. It's a must-win game. There's urgency. We're going with the Knicks minus 1.5 points. And then we got one for hockey tonight, too, for good measure. We're taking the Flyers to win outright. It's a little bit of juice, minus 120. Game 4 at home. They got the T-shirts out for all the fans to wear. It says, Puck Everybody, with a P. Puck, like the hockey puck. Everybody. Saw Josh Jacobs immediately jump up in the air as if he thought he had to dump something for a second. We're all good here. It's all safe. Flyers, minus 120. We got them winning tonight, closing things out against the Penguins, who just might be dead. Just might be dead for the season. So win review. Ruben Bain, plus 600. Defensive Rookie of the Year. Monster Delane with the Chiefs, plus 850. Defensive Rookie of the Year. The Knicks, minus 1.5. And yeah, the Flyers as well. Will Dalton, how do you feel about this lengthy card that we have? Some of them futures that we won't know until Super Bowl weekend in LA next February, Bain and Delane. And then going with, already had the Suns for tonight, but the Knicks and the Philadelphia Flyers.
I like the Knicks pick. I like that. I think they need to get that done, so it makes a lot of sense to bet that. By the way, did you happen to did you make any bets on the Lakers last night? Did you do that?
Stayed away.
Okay. LeBron James making things happen out there.
It also was smart to probably stay away from that game. Just even though the Lakers pulled it out, that is a historic meltdown. The only thing missing was Doc Rivers being on the Houston bench for you to foul Marcus Smart, a three-point shooter, up 6, have an awful giveaway leading to a LeBron 3 to tie it up, miss at the end of regulation, lose in overtime. Unforgivably bad, the Houston Rockets. Like, you could try to make this about the Lakers if you want, but really the story is Houston, holy hell. Houston, there is a degree of, Josh, they've had a ton of injuries. Josh, They lose Fred VanVleet in October, and then Steven Adams in January, and Kevin Durant misses games 1 and 3, and in between it, he played game 2, but clearly didn't look himself. Josh, what do you expect? Not really interested in hearing that case when the Lakers are without Luka Doncic and without Austin Reeves. Just not interested. You falling down, and it's round 1. You're falling down 3-0 in round 1, and they don't have Luka, and they don't have Reeves, and you can't win one game. And it's hard to figure out who to blame, frankly. Ime Udoka deserves some of it because of the late game stuff, but Şengün had 33, and Jabari Smith even showed up. He did his part. Oscar Thompson, he was good. Really, the guy that you circle is Reed Shepherd. Terrible last night. Terrible all series. They needed something, anything from Reed Shepherd. Got none of it. Got nothing. You get nothing. And now they're down 3-0, and there's going to be a giant overreaction. The discourse isn't going to be kind to Kevin Durant. Sure, he's going to have no issue with that. It's not like he's got burner accounts to fire off on or anything of that sort to defend himself in any way. Sure, that's not going to bother him. And then we'll see what they do. Roster personnel-wise, head coaching-wise. Don't think they're going to let go of Udoka. Don't know that, though. Just seems that if they lose this series in a sweep, when they don't have Luka or Reeves, there's going to be some dramatic overreaction in Houston. We were talking about it with KOC last week. Something's going to happen, right?
So, especially if they get swept. Especially if that happens. And the Lakers might not have Luka. They might not have Austin Reeves. But I tell you who they do have. They got that LeBron James guy.
Okay, we heard you the first time.
Put up 29 last night, 28 before that.
It is funny.
Ridiculous.
The late game watching, because we were on late till 3 a.m., was watching at around 1:30 Eastern time. The Spurs beat Portland to take control of that series back without Wemby. Dylan Harper and Steph Castle combined for 60 points. Yeah. If you combine their ages, 21 and 20, it's the same age as LeBron James.
Hey.
Yeah. The two players
Spurs
that combined
without
for 60.
Wemby.
Combine those players. And we'll see about OKC without Jalen Williams, up by 9.
Yeah.
J-Dub with 8.5 to go. In Phoenix, the Orlando Magic 113-105 winners today. The Carolina Hurricanes are brawling, literally, and in a hockey sense, with the Ottawa Senators, a 1-1 tie with 10 minutes or so to go in the game, 11 minutes to go.
Dude. So many.
Oh, it's good
like
fun.
Svechnikov was letting somebody have it. I don't know who it was, but it was great.
This segment is presented by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com. Coming up, nearly 2 hours into the show, I'll deploy the hottest take you're going to hear all show long. Keep it here on The Josh Graham Show.
The Cardinals turned the draft upside down. Jeremiah Love went 3rd overall.
Man, I'm ready to prove the fans right, prove the coaching staff right.
The highest paid running back ever with $52.5 million guaranteed.
I'm ready to represent the running backs. I'm ready to represent the Cardinals, ready to represent Notre Dame.
Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Sports presents Josh Graham.
This is a segment we like to call Making Will Dalton Really Mad. Because we have a clear disagreement about something here. And he's going to take it personally. He's not going to like it. It's okay, though. Will Dalton loves Michael Jackson. Loves him. So much so that he went to go see the new Michael movie last night. A movie that, based on reviews, based on common sense, is abysmal. Not worth seeing. Awful. Just an awful movie that should not have been made. And it's laughable, the lack of self-awareness by them to think that we're going to want to see more of these movies being made, considering they left it open for more Michael Jackson biopics to be made in the future. Here's the case, Will. You can dismiss this entire project with one fact. One fact and one fact only. It is produced by Optimum Productions, Michael's former company. This means all this movie was ever going to be, no matter what, was a state-approved slop. And it doesn't matter how great of a director you are. And Antoine Fuqua, love him, man. Love Training Day, for example. It doesn't matter how good the music is, doesn't matter how good Antoine Fuqua is. You can't overcome that because of this, the artistic ability to tell a accurate, depictive story of Michael Jackson. It's impossible. I mean, because of this, Janet Jackson doesn't exist in the universe of this movie. There's no discussion about Michael's legal issues. Oh, but the movie's set from the 60s until 1988. Fine. There's no conversation about how Michael was impacted, maybe in a negative sense, 10 to 11 years old, playing in adult clubs at that age. They kind of yada yada that and move it along pretty quickly. The Jackson estate essentially believes, Will, that they have suckers like you who love Michael Jackson so much that they're going to satisfy anybody. Hey, we're going to give access to this music library. In exchange, we have to approve of everything that you do here. And any movie that we put out is going to satisfy the movie-going public, even if the movie isn't good. So that's why it's not a good movie. You watch the movie, you tell me I'm wrong.
You're so incredibly wrong. One, you haven't seen it. Two,
No,
you don't like Michael
to.
Jackson, so you already
don't.
have a biased opinion on this.
Yeah, I don't
And
like.
this
I don't like
entire segment,
the
and you're-
pedos. I'm not a big fan.
Well, I don't believe that he was one, but that's a matter of opinion.
Oh. Well, the Neverland stuff, I'm not a fan of. Then some stuff we
happen
can't
to
prove, but there are
know-
things that are certainly fact.
I happen to know they were planning to address those things. In fact, they had to do reshoots because Act 3 of this movie was supposed to address some of those things. I believe I actually heard that they did a scene where it showed the raid on his house in that time. And the reason they had to cut it out and reshoot was because attorneys for the Jackson estate, which they served as producer, they realized there was a clause in one of the settlements with one of his accusers, Jordan Chandler to be specific, that barred the depiction or mention of him in any movie.
So, Will,
So they had to
play this
reshoot.
out. You already accept, your words, not mine, that the Jackson estate's the reason why they had to do reshoots.
Well,
now,
that clause is the reason why they had to do it. The Jackson
right,
estate
hold
discovered
one second.
it.
Right. Do you believe, honestly, that if they are the production company that is making this movie, that they want that stuff in the movie? If so, why? Like, again,
Well,
it's
they
not
shot
even a
it,
critique
so clearly
much.
that's a part of his story.
Hold one second. Antoine Fuqua shot it. They decided whether or not it got in the movie. There's stuff that they shot probably about his early life too, that they might have yada yada and moved along very quickly because they didn't like the direction that Fuqua was going in. See, that's how this kind of works. Antoine Fuqua shoots the movie, and then you try to piece it together, and then the Jackson estate watches what you put together and says yes or no. And they can decide if it's a no. Not when you're shooting it, when you're putting the movie together. So you can choose whether or not you believe it's because, darn it, we wanted to put all the legal problems in the movie. Darn it, we just forgot about Janet. We just forgot. Oh, crazy us. Or you can believe, kind of like with The Last Dance or anything else nowadays that is executive produced by the people that are featured in the movie or the family of the people featured in the movie, that they're going to manipulate things to make them look good. And that generally does not lead to really interesting art. And you're right, I'm not a big Michael Jackson guy. It's not an indictment on people that do. I'm not saying if you like Michael Jackson, you got bad taste. I'm not saying anything like that. You like what you like music-wise. But I've never been a fan of the crotch grabbing. I'm not a big fan of the moonwalking. The music never really moved me at all. The Neverland stuff, all that.
Moves in history. Yeah.
Just not a fan of any of it. It's not my thing.
Now let me give you this, because that's.
And by the way, before you say, "Oh, you're just young," now I'm in my mid-30s. Will's younger than I am. Loves Michael Jackson.
I am.
Most of my playlists: 60s music, 70s music, in the 80s. Prince is one of my favorite artists of all time. So this is not about an age thing. Oh man, the Utes, they don't know good music. That's not what this is whatsoever. It's just not my bag.
Now let me just say this, because all of that was mainly about the piece that a lot of movie critics have an issue with this movie about, which is
it's my problem with Elvis too.
Not the actual movie, not the actual music, and Michael Jackson's art and capturing his cadence, which Jafar Jackson was possessed by MJ in this movie. And anybody who saw it knows that. And I thought they did an incredible job sharing his story from the 60s to the Bad Tour in 88. There is going to be a part 2 to this where my guess is they're it's not amazing. Well, yeah, it is amazing because we want to see more of it.
No, I don't think so. I don't
this
think we're
movie
get
was
that movie.
Incredible. Oh, we will. This movie, I mean,
Can you find me a good review? Can you find me one good review?
Tons.
No, I'm talking from
they're
like
all over the
critical
place.
outlets, like
I'm not,
places that are reputed.
I'm not interested in critical outlets. I'm interested in people who actually like Michael Jackson. See,
no,
people like
of
this,
course
they're
these
only there to
people like
critique
Michael
it.
Jackson.
People that actually like Michael Jackson is all I care about, but not movie critics.
Okay.
That's why I don't take any of this segment seriously at all.
Biopics are generally a dull, repetitive genre. This is a problem.
Not this
They
one.
usually have a very similar structure. Here's our hero when they were kids. Here they are when they were adults. And maybe if you're lucky, you might even get a closing scene when they die. Very few movies have overcome this genre with creative structure. The Michael Fassbender, Steve Jobs movie is an exception to this. Malcolm X is certainly one of those with Denzel and Spike Lee. Lawrence of Arabia, maybe if you want to count that as a biopic with Laurence Olivier. But the real issue is what really killed biopics. It's not just the rise of executive producers like we were talking about manipulating the art, but also like the rise of documentaries and series on these streaming services the last 20 years. Netflix, Amazon, HBO, they do such a better job. Like, why would I want Jafar Jackson playing Michael when I could just have a documentary with actual Michael? This guy was like the most filmed person there is. And like I'd rather just see him himself tell the story and have the story told with the actual pictures and videos more than a full-length movie. But that's the other piece of it too, why just not a huge fan of the biopic genre. And yeah, based on every review out there, this movie sucks and it's not worth seeing.
Nah,
but here's the question.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on the way out, Will? What was your favorite part? When Michael did hee-hee? Is that it? What was your favorite?
This
I don't
is
know.
so insulting. It really is. Because you're so wrong on this, and you know you are, and you know you're trolling.
310-840-4910. How wrong am I about this? 310-840-4910.
Because I know you. I know you like to troll people. And I knew
This
this
isn't
is
a
what
troll.
this
I
segment
believe
was
this
gonna,
down to my
it's
heart.
Oh, yeah, sure.
This is what I believe all the way down to my soul and heart. I didn't say one thing in this segment I didn't believe. I'm not trolling. I could be a troll, but I'm not trolling.
You're wrong. You're wrong on this. And the fact that you called this right, and the fact that you called it slop is insulting.
No. I called it
insulting.
A state manipulated slop. That's what I called it specifically. Got to get the adjective in there. That's important. I didn't call it AI slop. I called it like a state. Those are the words I chose. There's another Michael I want to talk about. I want to know, what do you think Mike Vrabel's doing today? Remember, Will, he got the day off. He's not at the draft. with the Patriots. He's doing counseling. You know, do you think maybe they're playing like pickleball wherever they're at? Do you think maybe they're like sitting, like it's like the first scene of Mr. and Mrs. Smith? Did we ever make you watch that movie where they're sitting there and they're talking and they're not in a great place?
Yeah, I saw that movie. I did.
Yeah. Do you think that's what Mike Vrabel's doing today? Sitting there with his wife, talking some things over?
She's probably not talking to him right now.
Well, no, they're counseling, Will. It's counseling day, remember? He's not there for day 3 of the draft because he's counseling. So, you know, he's prioritizing his family. That's what Mike Vrabel's doing today. That's it. Trying to be a little productive. Do you think he's on his phone? No. I thought Carolina had this game in the bag. The Canes are up 3-1. They're about to coast past the Ottawa Senators, but the Senators just scored with $1:49 to go. So now it's just a 1-goal game. You hear that, Jacobs? Carolina Hurricanes, $1.50 away from completing the sweep. Does that not cheer you up at all, Will? I feel that you're upset.
No, I'm actually pretty heated right now. I'm pretty heated.
But does the Carolina Hurricanes sweeping the Ottawa Senators at least cheer you up a little? The Canes are going to go to the second round of the playoffs. They just got to finish off the final $1.49.
That's good for them. That's terrific.
Will's very upset. There are, he is insulted on behalf of Michael Jackson. Tonight's NBA slate. It's really about 2 teams, and we'll tell you who they are and make some picks next.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
Yes, sir. It is the Josh Graham Show. One more hour with you here on Westwood One Sports. We have a final in Ottawa. The Carolina Hurricanes 4, Ottawa 2. You know what? Gonna bypass that. Usually that's Josh Jacobs and Will Dalton's way of trying to restrain me as a Hurricanes fan, to pull me back in and recognizing this is a national show, Josh. The NFL draft's going on. The NBA playoffs are going on. Don't do it. Stop talking about the Hurricanes. Nobody cares, Josh. What are you doing? Just for a minute. Here's why you should care about what the Carolina Hurricanes just did in the National Hockey League. They are on a historic run that deserves some attention, that deserves some national notoriety. The Carolina Hurricanes last decade had missed the playoffs 9 straight years. 9 times in a row missing the playoffs. And much of the conversation every summer in the South was, well, it's kind of like the Atlanta Thrashers. Hockey isn't really working in the South. Maybe they're going to move to Quebec. Maybe they're going to move to fill in the blank, whatever northern place, air quote, cares about hockey more because hockey isn't working in the South, even though the Hurricanes won the Stanley Cup back in 2006. Then Tom Dundon takes over. Yes, the same Tom Dundon that's getting ripped because he's allegedly cheap from Portland Trail Blazers fans. Bill Simmons called him El Cheapo. He takes over the Carolina Hurricanes. He appoints Rod Brind'Amour as the head coach, who at that point was an assistant. He was the captain on that 2006 Stanley Cup team. And in the 8 seasons that Tom Dundon has owned this franchise, in the 8 seasons that Rod Brind'Amour has been the head coach, the Carolina Hurricanes have made the playoffs every season 9 straight years of missing, now 8 straight years of making the playoffs, and to go a step further, yes, sound the horn. To go a step further, the Canes, in a sport that is so random, where it feels like every year a top seed's getting knocked off, a 2 or a 1 by a 7 or an 8, because that's just hockey, baby, and that's just the Stanley Cup playoffs. In all 8 of these playoff runs, the Carolina Hurricanes have now won at least one series. They just swept the Ottawa Senators in 4 games. And in terms of history, the Carolina Hurricanes are now just the 4th team in the history of the sport and the first in the last 30 years to have won a playoff series, at least one playoff series, in 8 straight postseasons. The Philadelphia Flyers did it in 9 straight seasons from 1973 to 1981. The Montreal Canadiens had 2 runs of doing this, 84 to 93, 1951 to 1960. So even though the Carolina Hurricanes haven't been to the Stanley Cup yet, haven't made it there during this run, that's not all this is about. It's not all it should be about. Rod Brind'Amour and the Carolina Hurricanes deserve some credit, and the Canes deserve some love for making history 8 consecutive postseasons winning a playoff series. For good measure, Josh Jacobs, sound that mother bleeping horn one more time. This segment sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com. Getting to tonight's NBA playoff slate, it really is just about 2 teams. 2 teams define tonight's NBA slate we're about to get. The New York Knicks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Tonight is an absolute must-win game for the New York Knicks. There's no other way around it. No ifs, no ands, no buts. It's pretty clear. You can't fall behind 3-1 in a series. Only 13 teams in NBA history have come back from 3-1 down. That's roughly 4% of teams that fall behind 3-1. 4%. It's ridiculous that the Knicks are in this position. They should be leading this series. The way they choked away Game 2 at MSG, Mike Brown, his use it or lose it timeout, he uses it with 2:54 to go rather than having it north of 3 minutes, and thus you can't call a timeout in the final seconds, and McCall Bridges is the one taking the shot. Not good. That's on coaching. That's a collapse on your home court. Then you go to Atlanta, and an unforgivably bad final sequence by the guy you should trust most in Jalen Brunson. You got to win tonight, or else you're toast. The Minnesota T-Wolves, meanwhile, they have the Denver Nuggets exactly where they want them. The T-Wolves, they have taken the battle to the Nuggets. Led by double digits in Game 1, but couldn't close it out. Then you get the split that you want when you start out on the road in Game 2. Rudy Gobert, flat out better than Nikola Jokic in the fourth quarter. Not something on our bingo cards, but it's true. That's what happened. Game 3, series goes back to Minnesota. The T-Wolves hammer Denver. Don't forget that these are the same T-Wolves 2 years ago that faced the Nuggets when they were reigning champs and beat them in round 2 in 7 games. That was when Minnesota was too young and a year away, and Denver were the champs and all that. Minnesota should be better than what they were then. And Denver, are we sure they're as good, or they're probably worse? So Minnesota is at home. They have a chance to go up 3-1. The same history that the Knicks could be staring down could be what Minnesota is ahead by. They know the right buttons to press with Jokic and Murray and a lot of this personnel. So in terms of what we're going to see tonight, when these games play out, Nuggets T-Wolves, that's going to be an epic showdown. Can't wait to watch it. It's the main event in all of sports tonight, but we're going to lean with the home team going up 3-1 in their series and figuring it out. The New York Knicks, if the Knicks have pride, if the Knicks have give a damn more than what the Houston Rockets showed, they don't just win tonight's game. They win tonight's game with no drama whatsoever attached to it. Period. That's what you want to see later tonight. That's what you want from the New York Knicks. And that's what you're going to get if you had to guess. This is supposed to be the best New York team since the 90s. They should be the team playing with urgency. You can't be faking urgency. So the Knicks, they win. The T-Wolves, they win. I think we got a 2-2 tie in that Knicks-Atlanta series. I think the T-Wolves go up 3-1. While we've got some time, how about we check in on the live scoreboard? It's gone final. OKC is up 3-1 in their series on the Phoenix Suns as that series went back to Phoenix. Oklahoma City 121, Phoenix 109. Will Dalton, not a math major, not a math magician, if you will, from East Carolina, but that is more than a 9.5-point margin. Thus, bummed out a little bit.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Hate to see that. I really do.
Devin Booker, this was supposed to be a revenge game for Devin Booker, and he only had 16 points in it. Not what you want. Not ideal. Dylan Brooks went for 33. Did you see his post-game fit after Game 2 where he was wearing the suit? He was dressed like he was in Men in Black?
No, I didn't see that. Sounds pretty
That guy.
sharp, though.
Yeah, wow. SGA, 42 in this game. Ho-hum, 42 points. And I'm sure none of those were off push-offs on pull-off jumpers. None of them, I'm sure. 8 assists, 4 rebounds. It's just another day in the office for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Orlando, 113. Detroit, 105. This is going to be a long series. Will Dalton, have you gotten over your hate of the Orlando Magic because they eliminated your Hornets enough to say, hey, Orlando can win this series now?
Honestly, I'm getting more frustrated. I'm getting more frustrated at them because I bet them in Game 2 because I'm like, okay, they just smacked the Hornets. They just popped Detroit in the mouth in Game 1. So I'm like, all right, 8.5. Plus 8.5 is what I bet. They got slaughtered. I'm like, what did I tell you, Orlando? They're getting on my nerves.
What did I tell you that night? What did I tell you that night when you betted? When you bet, you can't bet the underdog before or after they surprise you. You got to do it before it's a surprise. Like, that's the game. You got to kind of forecast what people aren't expecting to happen when you're picking an underdog, and then that's when you take the underdog. Not when the Pistons are pissed and they're at home and they can't afford to lose and they're desperate. That's not when you take the Pistons. Or, pardon, you take the Magic. Apparently, you take the Magic when they return back home. And, man, was getting some text from some folks in the building. My brother lives in Orlando. And apparently, Desmond Bane went nuts from 3. 7 of 9 from 3 in the game. 7 of his 9 makes were from three-point land. Had 25. Paolo Banchero with 25 as well. Just exactly the team effort that you want. And it's this game, this series, frankly, it's decided by who's tougher on a given night. Who's better on the glass on a given night. And Orlando, if they out-rebound Detroit, they're going to win the basketball game. Because the way that you generally beat Orlando is with offensive rebounds and you take command that way. Orlando had 6 more boards than Detroit had in the game. And that's not the winning recipe. Detroit needs to win by bullying you. Detroit needs to play a tough amount of defense where you're not able to score 113 in a game. You're not able to shoot 45% from three. Detroit wasn't able to get to the game they did in game 2, and thus this is going to be a 6, maybe a 7-game series in a 1-8 matchup where we've only seen 6 8 seeds in NBA history win in round 1. And this format has existed since 1984. So there's a chance we could be seeing some history from the Orlando Magic. The last team to have won as an 8 seed was Miami, who became the first ever 8 seed. Well, I think the second, actually. There was the lockout shortened year that the Knicks got there in 99. But the Miami Heat went to the NBA Finals with Jimmy Butler. So maybe it's another Florida team that's able to surprise some people and go on a run here. The Magic 113, Detroit 105. Knicks, Hawks is just getting underway on NBC. And then the nightcap on ABC is Denver and Minnesota. So that's what we've got in the NBA. Transitioning the conversation back to the NFL. It is last call for phone calls, and we're asking the question. The draft's pretty much in the books. I don't know if it's down and dusted completely in Pittsburgh, but who had the best draft? Who had the worst draft? 310-840-4910, because I have answers to both those questions next on the Josh Graham Show.
Los Angeles delivered a first-round shocker with Alabama's Ty Simpson.
Wow, Ty Simpson goes 13. The Rams.
The QB goes far earlier than expected.
Nobody saw this one coming.
Is this the beginning of the end for Matt Stafford? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
It is the Josh Graham Show, and we are dancing on this Saturday afternoon. The NFL Draft about to come to a close. We might be joined by another draft pick as round 7 is rolling along. We have about 15 to 20 more picks left to be made. Hoping to be joined by another fabulous story. This one more of a hometown kid. That might be a hint if you're following the draft. Someone that might be joining us a little bit later on this hour. We've already visited with another of the best stories at the NFL Draft. Talking about Chindu Traore, who is one of the international path players, drafted by the Dolphins, going from the UK, being introduced to football at 18 years old, playing at Arkansas State, and then Mississippi State goes in round 5, the tight end. From the Bulldogs, now is a tight end for the Miami Dolphins. 310-840-4910. We're asking the question, who had the best draft, who had the worst draft? Let's go to Kevin, who's in Baltimore. Kevin, are you going to make the case that the Ravens had the best draft?
Absolutely, my man. Absolutely. It wouldn't be football if we didn't.
So the Ravens just have the best draft every year.
That's right, my man. I mean, look, Iwane is going to raise the standard on the offensive line for us, which helps a lot. He's probably going to be the meanest dog out there every time, which I love. I think the kid Zion from Missouri is going to be awesome. He brings that swag that we're going to love here. And even the kid, what's the wide receiver? Sutan from
Are you talking about
Indiana?
Surratt? No. Elijah Surratt is from Indiana.
Yes, sir.
Who was
Thank
a
you for the
JMU
correction.
player for Kurt Signetti, and then goes to Indiana where he was Fernando Mendoza's go-to target. Let me tell you real quick what I like about the Ravens draft, because I do think it's not a – I wouldn't have any issue with you making the case that they had the best draft because they got the guy that they wanted at 14. You needed interior O-line, especially when Dexter Lawrence gets added to the division. We learned that in the past week with the Bengals going for it. Zion Young, some felt that he was the best player left on the board after round 1. You get him at 45 out on the edge. And Surratt, he was a game changer for Indiana, along with Omar Cooper at receiver. But maybe The two picks I love the most because I have the most familiarity having covered these kids when they were in college in the ACC. Round 5, getting Chandler Rivers, who was in a lot of mock drafts as a first-round pick out of Duke at this time a year ago. That's a great pickup value-wise in round 5. And then in round 5, you get Adam Randall. What I love about him from Clemson, he was a wide receiver for most of his career, but because of how good he is at finding lanes after catching the ball, they shifted him to running back his last season. And while it didn't go great, it wasn't because of Adam Randall that things didn't go great at Clemson. So there's a lot of position versatility there too. So I just rattled off, I don't know how many picks they made in whole, but I just rattled off 5 picks that I love from the Ravens. And if you make 5 picks that I like, you're right, that's a damn good draft.
Yes, sir. And man, what a great way to describe what we did out there, because you're right. I mean, these are wholesome players that are working to become stars in the NFL. And every guy we picked has the possibility and potential to be a guy like that. And yeah, man, that's my argument for best draft.
I hear you.
I think we got.
Thanks for the call. And did you watch the Orioles today? I hope not. I hope you didn't catch the Orioles game today. Hope we avoided
I had to turn that one off, man. I had to turn that one off. That one just hurt a little too bad.
Yeah. We don't need to talk about it. Kevin, it's good to hear from you. Good luck to your Ravens. I am a huge Baltimore Orioles fan. That's the one Baltimore team I swear by. The Orioles lost 17-1 today. But again, Alan's now calling from Baltimore, 310-840-4910. Alan, we don't need to talk about that Orioles game. No, let's talk about how they ran out of fireworks at Camden Yards last night with 6 home runs. Let's talk about that. Let's not talk about 17-1 today against Boston. We're not going to do that. We'll just talk about the draft. What do you say? Hey, Alan, you with us here?
Nope.
310-840-4910. What's your name? Who am I talking to? You're from Baltimore, right? Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hello, what's your name? Oh, you're Walter Allen? Is that what I heard?
No, Paul from Rhode Island.
Oh, you're from Rhode Island. Paul from Rhode Island. Okay, Paul. What do you have for me?
All right, my man. Thank you. I love your show. I always listen to after.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I do. I just going to say that.
I appreciate it.
No, I do. And I'm just going to say that the Jets took it all. They took it all. They need glory for the fans. I'm going to say one thing and one thing only in this division. Buffalo did not do too good. I think the Patriots and the Jets did better than Miami and Buffalo. But I have to say, I'm looking for this kid, Wet Jet from Iowa Hawkeyes. I don't know where he went. I'm telling you, this kid is going to be the next Julian Edelman.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
I
See,
think
the
this
Hawkeyes, they're not known for their offensive prowess, or at least they weren't. This past year, sneaky enough, they actually weren't all that bad offensively. But I don't know if there is a star receiver to come out of there. But Iowa Hawkeyes are known for their O-line, known for their offense. And let me say this to you, actually, and I appreciate the call, Paul, and I appreciate you listening. I'm with you on the Jets.
You know, Hawkeyes produce a lot of linemen. I know. Go ahead. Continue.
That's what I'm saying. But let me tell you, thank you so much for the call. The Jets, I believe, along with the Browns, as gross as it sounds to say, had the best drafts of anybody the last 3 days. And the more I think about it, the more that the Jets probably than anybody else. It seems wrong to say this. It seems gross. It seems as if you are misspeaking as it comes out of your lips. It seems that you might need a shower because of how gross it is to admit such a thing. But the New York Jets and the Cleveland Browns may have had the most impactful drafts this year. Like, you can't, the only time the Cleveland Browns have the best draft is in a Hollywood script, literally. in the 2014 movie Draft Day. And what happened in the movie? Oh, he moved back and got the players that they wanted all along and took 3 guys that changed their organization. Well, Cleveland might have done that in this draft. They just might have done that. Like, the big goal for the Cleveland Browns was to make sure they had no excuses to be better offensively. No excuse to not be better offensively. This is why you bring Todd Monken in to be your head coach, because things got stale with Stefanski, and you want things to be better offensively. You're not worried about the defense. The defense features the Defensive Player of the Year and the Defensive Rookie of the Year. They were ranked 4th in total defense, despite the fact they didn't have any complimentary football, and the offense wasn't helping them at all. So what do? You move down from 6 to 9, adding some more draft capital. Cleveland drafts a flexible offensive lineman that can play at all 5 spots in Spencer Fano from Utah. And then you spend your next 2 draft choices on receivers, and different type of receivers. Casey Concepcion, give him the ball in the backfield. Give the guy the ball in the slot. Make him a burner on the outside. He does so much from A&M and from NC State. Charlotte kid. Followed him closely, considering my feet are in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, hosting this show. Denzel Boston. That's your pick in round 2. Totally different receiver. A physical receiver who, you want to talk about making hands catches? This guy does that. And you better in this league, because the DBs are so good. If you don't, they'll punch it out if you try to make body catches. Denzel Boston's a great receiver. Got to fix some of the drops. Had a few of those. But in terms of getting weapons for whoever your quarterback's going to be, whether it's Shedeur or Deshaun Watson or Dylan Gabriel, or how about the Cleveland Browns selecting my college football crush of the last 2 seasons, Taylon Green from Arkansas and Boise State. The kid is 6'6", 225 pounds at quarterback and runs a 4.36 40-yard dash. He rushed for nearly 2,500 yards in college. He threw for nearly 10,000 yards, threw for nearly 60 touchdowns, rushed for 35. That's another guy that they're just adding in the room. So love what the Browns did. Again, feels really awkward to say that. And then with the New York Jets, Jacobs, WD, see if you can find the sound of Daniel Jeremiah breaking down one of the Jets picks that they had, because it's fabulous. If you're looking to create a championship culture, which the Jets certainly do not have, the way you do it is by drafting winners. Guys who want to win. Now I'm starting to sound like Mike Singletary. Can't win with them. Can't do it. And they may have found not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 starters with their first 4 picks. Number 2 overall, they take Texas Tech pass rusher David Bailey. The Red Raiders were in the CFP quarterfinals at the Orange Bowl. The top edge rusher off the board, the top defensive player off the board is David Bailey. Number 16 overall, Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq is the pick. The Ducks, they were in the CFP semis. Sadiq was the top tight end in this class. Number 30 overall, Indiana receiver, Omar Cooper Jr. Obviously, they won the national championship. Every mock had the Jets taking Cooper at 16, and you get him at 30. That's not bad. Not bad value. And then you get to round 2, and you take Indiana star corner D'Angelo Pons. You're not going to find many DBs with better instincts than him. And again, you're going to love the comp that Daniel Jeremiah had for Pons. This is courtesy of the NFL Network last night.
I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to jinx it. Look at my comp for this player. So good. Aaron Glenn just drafted himself. I love it. It's the first time I can ever say that. By the way, D'Angelo Pons, my 50th player, was the 50th pick, and his comp is his new head coach. Thank you, draft gods, for giving me this. Thank you so much. Well done. D'Angelo Pons, he plays exactly like his head coach, Aaron Glenn. I love it. He's short. He is not small. He plays with unbelievable eyes and instincts. He is physical. He is feisty. He is
tough. Aaron Glenn just drafted himself. It's why Daniel Jeremiah, shout out to the App State Mountaineers, of which he's one, might be the best in the business at doing this. It seems wrong to say, but the Jets and the Browns, they are the teams that had the most impactful drafts thus far. Will Dalton, it looks like we're going to be joined in just a bit by, you want to talk about another great story? We've had a chance to document great stories on this show. How's this for a story? Eli Heidenreich, who was recognized at the Combine for running a great, I think, 3-cone time. Like, that was like the thing that really stood out from him. And you better be able to cut when you go to the school that he went to. How about going to Mount Lebanon High School in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, playing at the Naval Academy, where you represent the United States of America, and then in the final round of the NFL draft, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, you get drafted by who? The Pittsburgh Steelers. Are you kidding? That is what just happened to Eli Heidenreich, who I'm being told is he just got drafted in the last 20 minutes or so. He's in Pittsburgh. He's going to be joining us in just a few minutes, visiting with us. But Will, I didn't even ask you the question. I don't want to focus on the negative anymore. We don't need to focus on, even though I think the Cardinals had the worst draft, I feel like we talked enough about that. Let's focus on the positive. Like, who do you think had the best draft? Is this where you make the case for your Carolina Panthers?
Listen, I think they did have a terrific draft. Dan Morgan, the GM over there, has been cooking. Took Monroe Freeling, the offensive tackle out of Georgia, to beef up the line a little bit more for Bryce Young.
I did like that pick. Yeah.
It was a great pick. And then they took Lee Hunter, a defensive tackle. Dude just looks like a beast in the second round.
Got a lot of text about Lee Hunter. Tons of text. Mostly from my boss, who's a Texas Tech alum.
But then they took a wide receiver out of Tennessee, Chris Brazzell II. And
not a huge fan of Chris Brazzell, but that's okay.
Well, there's some that are, and now you've got, I don't know, it's going to be a crowd. It's going to be an interesting story. The third wide receiver in that room, like T-Mac, Tedero McMillan, for those not familiar, is your one. Jalen Coker's your two. And then the third guy, is it going to be Xavier Legette, who had a rough second year? Is it going to be John Mechie, the guy the Panthers picked up in free agency, who has history with Bryce at Alabama?
Won't be him.
This guy? Is it Jimmy Horn Jr.? They got some options here. It's going to be fun to watch. For me, I mean, I'm a fan, and I cover the state of North Carolina, so it's going to be fun. The Browns had a good one.
Let's try our best to get connected to Eli Heidenreich, the newest Pittsburgh Steeler, who's an amazing story. We plan to visit with him next on The Josh Graham Show.
Westwood One, baby! Fernando Mendoza is the Raiders' new centerpiece. Will he prove to be a franchise quarterback or another Vegas roll of the dice? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
Forgot to ask you this question, Will Dalton. What do you have to put this show to bed when we get there in a few minutes?
Find out how a woman got a DUI and she wasn't even driving.
We're going to be joined, we'll get to that. We're going to be joined by Eli Heidenreich in just a few minutes. A story that if you don't know, you're going to get emotional hearing it. Just watched the announcement of him being picked by the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's the Steelers' newest running back. It's the 7th round. The final picks are being announced. He's going to join us from Pittsburgh momentarily, hopefully before we wrap things up in the next dozen minutes or so. We're going to visit with him from Pittsburgh. But before we do so, let's keep you posted on everything that's happening across the NHL and the NBA playoffs. We already have 2 finals in the NBA. We're halfway home. The OKC Thunder, without J-Dub, without Jalen Williams, wins in Phoenix 121-109. They're up 3-0 in that series. Orlando, 113. Detroit, 105. The Magic did their job of splitting the games in Detroit. Then the series goes back home, and the Magic handles business by shooting 45% from 3, hit 7 3-point shots, or Desmond Bain specifically, hit 7 threes in the game, going for 25. Paolo Banchero had 25 as well. The New York Knicks, 27. The Atlanta Hawks, 20. We got Denver and Minnesota tonight. The Carolina Hurricanes are up 3-0 on the Ottawa Senators with the series win. And there's a couple more games later tonight that we are lining up. But this story is going to give you chills. Eli Heidenreich is a running back from Navy, but it probably should start with a running back from Mount Lebanon High School in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, who just heard his name called at the draft, a 7th-round pick in Pittsburgh, where the crowd erupts when your name is called. The Steelers take Eli Heidenreich, who joins us now from Pittsburgh, and we saw the emotion on your face watching on the screen when you were picked. In that moment, what were you thinking about?
Yeah, there were a few things that went into it. I think the first thing was I just started thinking back to all the games, especially when I was younger, just going to those games and watching Steelers games and think about, as every kid would, playing in the NFL one day. And now that I got here and have the opportunity to go put on the black and gold, I think that was the biggest thing for me. It was just all those Steelers games that I went to growing up. And then 2, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, what was number 2 actually?
I think there was just a lot of work that went into this. A lot of it on the scene, just thinking about all the hours on the field, a lot of time by myself, just to get to this point today.
Have you spoken already to Mike McCarthy or to the Steelers management?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. I spoke with them right after they drafted me.
What did they tell you?
They were all excited. Excited there's some Yinzers in there in the draft room, so they're excited to keep one in Pittsburgh. So I think that was the kind of the theme there.
How would 16-year-old Eli Heidenreich react if you were able to go back in time and tell them what just happened?
That's a good question. I think he'd just be super proud. I think he knows that there was a lot of work that went to get into this spot. So I think, he's proud of me.
Going to the Naval Academy, it's a different type of athlete that chooses that path. We know the stories of so many who've done so. What would the alternative be if it wasn't playing in the NFL as you're about to do?
Yes, sir. So back in November, I was selected to be part of the Marine Corps. So if I was not to play in the NFL, I would go commissioned to the Marine Corps.
Eli Heidenreich is with us here, and this is one of the best stories that you're going to find. Now the question becomes, how do you even begin to celebrate tonight? What's it look like?
So I live like 15 minutes from the Acrisure Stadium, so I got a quick drive home. And then I have a bunch of my teammates that came up from Annapolis for the weekend. I have a ton of family here. I mean, all my family's in Pittsburgh, so real quick drive over to the house. And I think we're just going to hang out. No real plans.
You know there's a person whose job it is with the Steelers to call prospects like you and tell them the logistics of, we're going to fly you out at this time and get you here, and then here's how you get to the stadium. They don't need to do that with you at all. You know the roads, and you're there. When does work begin as a Pittsburgh Steeler, Eli? Do you at least get tonight?
I'm gonna enjoy tonight with my family, celebrate a little bit, but I think work begins tomorrow, especially when I get back to Navy on Monday and hit the ground running and getting ready to be a Steeler.
We look forward to watching you with the Steelers. What a story it was tonight. And thank you for representing the United States of America as well at the Naval Academy. But I will say at the end of this, I didn't appreciate how you treated my East Carolina Pirates in the American Conference. I didn't. You guys gave them hell, but it made me very well aware of Eli Heidenreich over the years. Best of luck with the Steelers. Thank you so much for making the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Got it. There goes Eli Heidenreich. And it's true, Will. As an East Carolina Pirate, I hated when the Pirates played Navy because Eli Heidenreich in the backfield or whoever was the up back would just annihilate us. 76 points, 66 points, 56 points. They'd light it up. And his Navy mids, man, they did that. They did that.
Got to know him very well. That's what you did.
I'm
glad you
familiar
got
with
that
his
in
work.
there at the end. I'm happy about that.
Had to.
I think he probably liked it too.
I had the you saw the smile on his face.
Oh yeah, I knew.
He is the class of America, so he was going to be classy about it. But that smile on his face said everything you needed to know, which was, oh yeah, whew, I remember the Pirates. I remember Greenville, America. Whoo wee. All right, let's close things out by putting this show to bed. Why don't we?
So how do you manage to get a DUI if you're not driving? How does that happen? I'll tell you. Because down in Sarasota, Florida, this woman who was intoxicated at twice the legal limit got behind the wheel of her Tesla and put it into autopilot, thinking that that would, protect her from any type of, DUI type consequences if she happened to get pulled, which she did. She got pulled around 2 a.m. and she just, Apparently the officer said even with the autopilot on, this is still extremely dangerous. It does make me think though, have you ever ridden in one of these Teslas with the autopilot? Have you done that before?
I have. I don't like it. I don't like the experience because here's the thing they don't tell you. It's if you have the self-driving on, you still have to be facing forward in it.
Yeah.
Or else it deactivates. It's so if you're picturing you're sitting there just playing on your phone while driving. No. If you're looking down, it has sensors. And to me, that defeats the whole point. I don't want to do you know what sounds like the worst driving experience? Not driving your car, but having to sit there and look straight and not be able to do other things with your hands. At least when you're driving, that keeps you stimulated. Yeah.
And like you and I, we're people who like we're in the media, so we're on our phones a lot. We're putting out stuff or talking to people a lot. So it's like you would think with this autopilot maybe it could be a little productive. But I didn't know. I didn't realize you had to be facing forward that way. That's very interesting.
No, it is. I remember I was with my dad who had the feature in his car. He might be listening, driving that way right now. And you have to look straight. And then if it happens 3 times, it catches you not. It then deactivates. It says they don't even give you the self-driving anymore. You have to take the wheel and drive.
Huh. See, I'm somebody who likes to drive. I enjoy it. So I don't even know if I would want to use the autopilot.
Have you ever been in a Waymo yet?
No, I haven't done that. Do we have those in North Carolina?
Good question. Don't know the answer to that. I probably should have been in one with at the Final Four in Indy, but I just wasn't thinking about it. But the way it's described to me is that the wheel turns, but nobody's in the front seat, obviously. So like when it's making turns, like the wheel turns. And then on the app, like when you walk up to it, it has where you can unlock it when you're close so that nobody else gets in the car. You unlock it manually. And then you can via the app, I think, you can adjust the temperature and adjust the music that's in the car.
Ooh.
Because again, you're sitting there and there's nobody in the front seat, you're in the back, and it's just driving you where you want to go. The Waymo.
So if I wanted to blast some Michael Jackson in one of those things, I could do that. That's what I could do that.
You can definitely do that. You going back
I think
to
I'm gonna
rewatch.
go watch the movie again. I think I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, there it is.
Gotta do it.
Go rewatch Michael. I still haven't seen Project Hail Mary with Ryan Gosling. Need to do that. Our thanks to the great guests that we've had on the show, whether it's Seydou Traore, or right there, Eli Heidenreich, drafted by teams tonight. Awesome stories. Love the NFL draft. Great work by Blake and Abdallah getting guys on Thursday, and the NFL helping us out here today. Josh Jacobs and Will Dalton, thanks to you guys as well. Keep it tuned to Westwood One Sports.
This is Westwood One Sports.